hello, welcome everyone. Oh, and because I'm such a, I still have the commander's spot up there. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch because instead of commander, we have for you today Christopher Maute, who you can all probably hear, but he's
Check one, two, check one, two.
Yeah, they can hear you, but they can't see you. So let me fix that real quick. We're going to go from camera 4 down to camera 3, and there you go. Although it still says you're Slavi, so maybe I can fix that too. You know, just because you're not. So this, for those of you who are new to this, this man right here is the Reverend Doctor.
That's right. Get it all.
This is going to go so far over. I'm just going to Dr. Maute Jr. Esquire.
Mm-hmm. The third. Hold on a second. I'm a third.
Oh, it's the third.
I'm going to be an Esquire and
you're,
a Reverend.
You're the third Esquire. Okay.
I'm not a sir anymore.
Oh, so, I'm sorry. Yes, you are. You absolutely. My bad. It's been a day.
Everyone's watching me adjust my camera. This is such great content.
Oh, we're all listening and
typing out my label, my lower third.
Oh dear Lord! So a couple of quick things to get through. I have a feeling we're going to be live pretty much all day. We're going to have to go down once or twice, but we're going to be live most of the day. We have learned, yeah, we've learned a bit more about what's happened because it turns out. Wow. And I'm sure Maute knows more because I was getting the show prepped, but we've learned what happened and it's as follows. I've done a lot of web development. I used to be paid to make websites. We have an In Time website. If you go to that website, I think you'll find it's a pretty good website. I made that one. I cheated and used WordPress, but nonetheless. Now, when you're building something like that, usually the easiest way to do it is to put up all your pages and just don't have them indexed so nobody can reach them. However, anybody who knows anything about web building can find a non-indexed page so long as they can guess the name of it. And if you can guess the name and type the name in, you can find it, even if it's not indexed. It turns out that the DOJ has not yet released data set 8. And if you go to the DOJ's website right now for the Epstein files, you will see only data sets 1 through 7. 8 has not been released. Now, what I just described to you, how to do it, is bad. It's what is it? You don't do it. It's bad practice. Nobody who's any good at websites does it that way. You build a sandbox, does it that way. You build a up. Yep. There. I'll go there for a second. No worries. Okay. So you build a sandbox. Any number of ways to do it, but actually pre-building it and counting on only the index is it's an easy way for hackers to come in and do what's been done here. It turns out somebody decided to just take the URL for the 7th data batch and replace the number 7 with 8 and hit enter. And the 8th data batch, which is not yet indexed and not yet officially released, came up. But it's all the DOJ files by the DOJ, still on the DOJ website. And what they've been doing is they put them all there and then have been redacting them from the internet.
And so how many are in the newest the newest whatever dump?
Data set. It looks like 11,000.
Yeah.
And people are going through them right now. It appears that the FBI still has not yet, or that the DOJ has not yet realized that they're there. But the index page for that is actually there. So for each data set has its own index page for what's in the data set. And then there's a master index page for all the data sets. What they've done is built the entire data set, including the index page for that data set, and then just not put it on the main page, which means people have already, just using that, you use what's called a scraper, and you tell the scraper, you give it the main URL for that data set, and it downloads every single file associated with it. All of them. So people already have the entire 11,000 data set before it's been redacted. And they don't, yeah, you got it. So what we're learning is people are still going through that data set. They've found more. And presumably they would remove files that they wanted to remove, like these FBI files. And by the way, it's the most convenient way to do it. It is the most convenient way to do it. It is absolutely a bad practice. Nobody who's experienced in websites does it this way, because it's vulnerable to exactly what's happened here. But I think this was part of the intention, was to put so much pressure that they were going to make mistakes. Anyways, I've been talking a lot. Chris, what do you think?
Well, I got hip to this because of CoffeeZilla. Or one of his channel, 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐿𝐻𝐸, actually, just 13 hours ago, they accidentally leaked new Epstein files. And I sent you the link to this. And in 11 minutes, he does a very good job, especially if you watch it 1.5 times speed. He does a really good job of like visually demonstrating everything that you just described. So for those of you who are interested, 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐿𝐻 has a nice little video about this. So let's first talk about the incompetence.
Yes, and let's give him credit. So I'm going to drop his link so you can go see what he says.
Yeah. Or if you wanted to play, we can do a reaction video if you have time, or depending on.
I think I can set that up real quick. Well, I'd rather talk to you. So let's you and I talk. Let's shoot
the shit for a hot second. So first, I want to address the incompetence. This has been the fodder for late night hosts since the last administration. It's never, I can't say it's never. Until this administration, until this administration, it hasn't seemed to have had as bad of consequences. This level of incompetence is putting people's privacy at risk, right? In addition to like providing us with the things that we want, the dirty details, of course, we are biased. There are things that have been promised and not released. It is a weird conspiracy that the QAnon had itself wrapped around. This is such a heavily weighted, this has so much baggage attached to it. And America is in such a weird frenzy of tribalism and calling people out that the incompetence is putting citizens at risk in a way that you wouldn't think the government would want to do. Even though their excuse will be, oh, well, they were protected and we haven't redacted them yet. Yeah, but like 13-year-old, Joe Blow from Indiana could just replace a number and find what you have hidden. It's not, you didn't even do like the most basic work to hide these documents. So that there isn't a system in place for them to protect privacy as they're doing the redaction. You know what I mean? That's like as slapshod an administrative process. You know what I mean? This is what happens in a small business employed by 10 people. This isn't what happens at the level of the federal government from the very department that is supposed to protect us.
Yep. And so we know they've released in previous and still have not yet redacted. They've received a formal request from one of the victims who has not gone public, her name and her number. She has gotten unsolicited phone calls. And the whole thing was in one of the files that they threw out. That they put out, and they still haven't redacted it. Her lawyer has contacted both the FBI and the DOJ and said, you have this information on your website. And since I'm not sure it's even illegal, but whether or not doxing is legal or illegal varies by state. There's no federal statute on it, so I don't even know but anyways, yeah. To your point.
It's just crazy, right? And so, of course, the part of me that loves psychology is thinking about there is a social psychology theory of like, first impressions when you meet somebody. There's three variables. There's trustworthiness, there's confidence, and there's competence. If somebody scores high on all three of those, there's somebody who made a good first impression on you. How do you think our government's doing on first impressions? I think they get 1 out of 3.
Well, hold on. There's actually a technical.
Wrong.
Well, no. There's a technical word for it. Let me just see. Oh yeah. Lower than whale shit. Oh wait, is that the right? Yeah, nope, that's the right one.
Lower than whale shit. That's pretty good. It's not quite. So my buddy 𝐒𝐤𝐬𝐿, the co-host on my hang, he has a term: irreducibly stupid.
That's a good one.
And it's the idea. It's of course meant to be a reaction against Michael Behe and creationism, or intelligent design, whatever you want to call it. But it's the idea that people know better, but they choose to be stupid. So it's irreducible stupidity. They know that what they're talking about is bullshit, right? But so to me, our current administration is filled with people of irreducible stupidity. They know they should be doing better. They know that there's a better way. They know that what they're doing is going to catch up to them, but they're doing it anyway. So that's a shout out to my man 𝐒𝐤𝐬𝐿.
So yeah, okay. So we've got, so there are people asking, is mainstream media covering this and yada yada yada, and this is kind of like why yeah, they will. Listen, and people who've been around have seen us before. We covered the invasion of Russia by the Wagner Group for 6 hours before Reuters picked up on it. And we covered the invasion of Ukraine beforehand. And one of the reasons is because we get it directly off social media, which most mainstream media cannot do. We have a vetting process. We take that process very seriously, and we know the sources where this is coming from. And we go and verify them ourselves. So, we have gone and found that eighth, and it's right on it's on the Justice Department's website. I've been there. So we've confirmed all of this. But if you're mainstream media and you hear about it, and you hear about this on the internet, then you're going to have to do a lot of research. They have a lot more bars to clear before we do. So this has not gone out on mainstream media yet. The channel.
For clarity, Nick.
Yes.
It is the case that they purposely released some files, but in addition to that, there are also files they didn't mean to be released. And that's important because when looking at news reports, you're going to see like, third dump of Epstein files. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah. Thank you for clearing that up. And the channel that Maute mentioned, Titan dropped a link to earlier, and I just dropped a link to the video. He covers sort of how they got these files and what they say. One of the others, and I think you maybe have seen it fully through, I have not, but there are so many files. Literally, when I first learned of this, we only knew of one file that was worthy of breaking news. And by the time we went breaking, we had 3. The one that I saw on this video has a 4th, which is one that claims 10 co-conspirators. You have to be careful with that. You have to be extraordinarily careful with that, and I'm going to explain why. And I checked that file as thoroughly as I could before we went live. Mm-hmm. You have to be careful because oftentimes a victim is also a co-conspirator. So one of the things that we know Epstein did was like he would get like a girl involved in his sex trafficking scheme, and then he would tell her essentially that he'd take it easy on her if she brought in her friends. And so she would go out and go bring in other people. She is now a co-conspirator. Now, she is a co-conspirator by the letter of the law. This is something that we have had to cover before when we were looking at the original 2007 indictment. This is why co-conspirators received immunity in the 2007 indictment to give specifically immunity to any of the girls who thought that by helping him in his sex trafficking, they could get themselves out from under it because they were underage. They didn't know, there was nothing else they could do. So that's why the whole co-conspirator thing was an issue in 2007. For the 2020 trial of Epstein, they identified 10 co-conspirators. From what I can tell, at a minimum, one of them is not that case. One of them is a businessman from Ohio. We don't know who he is, but he is identified as a co-conspirator. The fact that he is a co-conspirator would indicate that they've got now at least, so we have identified now 3 or 4 other people that should have been prosecuted or further investigated, and Pam Bondi has said, I don't know, there's nobody else. There appears to be, and it looks like it looks like in this, because this is a court document, not an FBI document. For the FBI, a co-conspirator is anybody who's helping. In the court, when you're filing a brief, or I forget what they call it, a proffer, I'm not as convinced that they would say co-conspirator on a victim who ended up helping. So it's entirely possible all 10 are full-fledged adults that were in some, and we know who some of them, by the way, the model scout from France who ended up committing suicide in his cell, any number. There was at least one guy, a valet, who worked at the Epstein apartment who has to have known what was going on. It looks like he actually had, the people who were watching the video were watching it live. So there were video cameras. They were actually watching and monitoring live. So there were people in that room during his parties. He had a monitoring station. Where are those people? So we may learn more about that. Any thoughts on that, or did you, in finishing?
So the email that you're referring to is a response to an email sent from the violent crimes section, right? Crimes Against Children Human Trafficking Unit. So even though the term, so I don't know what that means in the use of the word co-conspirator in an email, but that's the chain of command, so to speak, or that is the chain of these emails. What was I going to say? I think the most important point is this is breaking, right? This the video, the 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐴 video is just 13 hours old, and we're picking up new stuff. Nick is picking up new stuff in real time. So what these details mean in context, we're not going to know for a while. So it's going to be tough. We don't want to speculate, but of course, Nick, the responsibility of Nick and In Time is to report what we know as we know it, and make it available as soon as possible. So this is what we have. I thought the 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐴 video was very good. First of all, I like CoffeeZilla, so there's that. But in 11 minutes, he really brings it down to an essence. Now, aside from the incompetence that this is involved with.
Yes.
All right. Trump. Is this going to be the domino that makes him fall?
Yeah.
Some people are intimating that he could resign by the end of today. Could. Anything's possible. What probability is that tethered to? Is this going to land in the world of, keeping in mind, like I said a moment ago, this is heavily laden with baggage from QAnon and conspiracy theorists and, seeing DJT, the orange one, accused of what he's being accused of. That's going to be tough. Megyn Kelly is not going to be able to make a distinction that would make this look good, if you know what I mean. You see how I sidestepped that one?
I like that. No, I like that. Well, that was both professional, but also very Ouch. I was a little like, I mean, not to me. I'm like, ooh, somewhere. What's that smoke? Oh, that's Megyn Kelly. I can see the smoke all the way from here. Yeah, that landed well.
So, how's this going to, that's what's, when it hits mainstream media, because it's been long enough. It's been 12 hours. News cycles are fast. So what's the next episode of, dipshitpodcast.com coming out, and what are they going to say?
Well, and so first of all, it's 11,000 files. I've been learning of a new thing that is damning. I mean, absolutely. I usually underplay on this show things as much as I can, in part because I don't want to get sued for saying something libelous, which I can. So I tend to downplay. There are things that are damning to Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and obviously Trump. And we're seeing a new file of that on average, every 30 minutes. So people are going through it right now.
Right. It's a good thing Dan Bongino is out, because now he's not guilty of anything. He's absolved, I should
under the wire. Under the wire. Damn, he was and he ostensibly, somebody had said that the reason that he claimed that the reason he was leaving was because of the Epstein files. That isn't any reason that I saw him claim. It wouldn't surprise me, but what he said was, frustration over how much it was consuming his life and yada, yada, yada.
His job was consuming his life.
Yeah, he could.
Hold on. Let's summarize what happened. He went from podcasting, raging against the government, to being a part of the government he was raging against, and decided that being a podcaster raging against the government was better.
Yes, that's exactly. Well, and he lost a huge amount of his fan base, because everything that he was raging against and that everybody believed in him for, he had now become the antithesis of. So apparently he was getting death threats, his whole fan base, and what's his name? Kash Patel is in roughly the same boat, because Patel,
This is like watching a bully on a schoolyard. Like, cool, you're arguing against that. Now you get to be in charge of that thing and change it. No, okay, so you're a coward. It's easier for you to argue against the thing than it is to build something good, right? Cool, that's the life lesson. But didn't we learn that on the playground from bullies? Like, why is this our politics and government?
Because
the government's bad. Now I'm in the government. Shit, this sucks. I'd rather say that the government is bad. That's the most cowardly shit in the world.
It's because
Put your tail between your legs and run away some more. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
No. I listen. I get to use this platform anytime I like. We haven't had you in a while, so I'm delighted.
You're agitated on your hands now.
Well, and I've been agitated too. So this is good. I think we can take turns being agitated. And
everything about it.
Trump is
comical.
Trump is a 12-year-old, and he's 12 years old, and so the people that he most respects and looks up to are other 12-year-olds, or maybe 13 emotionally, and I think that's sort of how he sees the world. Adults he does not respect, because he knows better than adults. Every 12-year-old knows better than all adults. So and I'm not even really using this as hyperbole. I just mean psychologically, he's stuck in the Freudian sense. He's stuck at the age of 12. So I think that's his worldview. So when you take a look at Kash Patel and how brazenly his only qualification is that he kisses Trump's ass, none of us would actually want that, because we'd be like, okay, this is a person who A, would be icky and annoying and a sycophant, and B, you can't get anything from them. They're vapid, they're hollow. You're not going to get any feedback that's of value. How do I look today? You look like the smartest, best human being in all the world. Thanks, that's helpful.
Well, that's what he wants to surround himself with. And it's also a matter of he wants pawns, right? He doesn't see humans as humans. He sees humans as objects. And he's not good at games or strategy. So it's interesting that he sees humans this way because well, I would say he sucks at it, but he is the president of the United States right now. So it's kind of tough. Kind of tough to make that argument, considering that I live in a country where
he was elected twice.
He won the vote this time.
I keep thinking, I was on your stream, and I forget who I got into an argument with, but I was vehemently fighting somebody who was like, why are you fighting against Trump? And this was after Biden won. And Trump was talking about coming back for another. He goes, nobody will ever elect him again. I said, that's what they said. And I said, what did you say before he was elected? That he was unelectable, but this time he's really unelectable. I was like, no, that's how he got caught the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Apparently it is what a majority of people want. And this says something about populism, in my opinion. How is this good populism, but Bernie Sanders, let me rephrase that. How is this bad populism and Bernie Sanders is good populism?
Ooh. That's
Isn't it the same
good
base?
question.
Well, let me rephrase that. It's not the same base. I'm not that fucking
it's the same approach. Sort of. That's closer.
Yeah, like how are we going to get a better result? Are we just saying our populace, the people populating our populace are better? Because that's not a justification. That's not a foundational fucking rock to stand on.
Caesar worked as a populist and was popular up until he wasn't. Let me do this. I do want
things work. Especially benevolent dictatorships.
Yeah, I do want to do one quick thing.
The
just because
has opinions about benevolent dictatorships. She's a fan.
Oh, she's a fan of benevolent. So she's a Hobbesian.
You want to hear?
I do.
Sorry, you were talking about Trump, and I was like, he was what? We were talking about populism. I said, why is Trump bad and the Bernie Sanders version good? Like, philosophically, we can't just say, like, we have the neutral ground from which we determine things. There has to be a justification for it. And he's like, oh, well, Julius Caesar, is that the example you used?
Yes.
Yeah, Julius Caesar, was a populist until he wasn't. I was like, that's how everything works, especially benevolent dictatorships. And then all of a sudden you're what? Huh? Benevolent dictatorships.
I was into my bill. Like, it was just that phrase.
What do you have to say? Give us a hot take about benevolent dictatorships.
I don't know that I could add anything super interesting, but I think that
What would be the value of one if somebody were to press you for there being value in one?
because then
It's the Oracle. The Oracle is speaking.
I don't have the couch image anymore. I got to put that back on.
I think that a benevolent dictatorship would work in that it would be kind,
Yes.
and it would be inclusive and compassionate. The laws and rules would be guided by that. But then there's the dictatorship piece where it would be enforced. So rotten, poor creatures will be ended.
So there are firm guidelines for good that are fucking enforced.
Enforced, yes.
I see.
Yes.
But what about the passing of the torch?
Right. So
Because we're
that's
talking about when benevolent dictatorship
die. Yeah.
and that's when the dictator dies.
Right. But there has to be like apprenticeships. Like, it has to be the entire course of the dictatorship should also be grooming or locating a replacement that's obviously going to keep up the blah, blah, blah. And there should be councils that advise, like, all those things should still exist. It shouldn't be. And I know how that sounds just like a king and queen. I get it.
Glad you read my mind.
I see the twinkling eye.
It's Leviathan. You're a fan of Hobbes.
Not every idea deserves to be heard. Not everybody deserves a platform. Like, that shit needs to be ended.
Oh my goodness. The Oracle, ladies and gentlemen. I wish I had my sound effect.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a rundown because some of you are joining us and going like, "What are they doing? Are they just shooting the shit?" And we're shooting the shit, but we are not just shooting.
There's news.
there's news. So for those of you who don't know, so when building a website, and this is probably the easiest way to start, what you can do is put the entire website up and then just index and show pieces of it as those pieces are ready. This is the easiest way to do it, but any web designer will tell you don't do that because all someone has to do is guess the rest of the names of the files and folders, and they can find them. So you never do it that way. That's how amateurs do it. Your first time somebody hacking into your website, you'll realize don't do it that way. So, well, it looks like nobody told the Department of Justice this. The Department of Justice has officially, I know, they've released 7 data sets. Somebody decided to take the link for the 7th data set and take the number 7 and replace it with 8 and hit enter. And boom, the 8th data set, which had not yet been published, came up. It is on the website, and it's published too. I mean, this is the DOJ's data that they had put on. What
kind of technical genius this person was. Like, it just would have never come to me, like, what comes after 7, 8? No. Green.
Yeah, it was probably a 12-year-old.
Green.
So what they've been doing, and this is a way to do it, they've been sandboxing it in an area that they hadn't indexed. And so they put all the files that they want to release up there, and then they've been redacting them from there. They've been pulling them from there. They've been reviewing them from there, which is the fastest and most convenient way to do it, but is hella stupid. And because they've been doing it as a whole, what that means is the index page for the 8th batch did exist, even though it hadn't been put on the master index. The index page existed, which means as soon as the person asked for the index page for the 8th, as yet unpublished and unknown data set, boom, he got the entire data set unredacted. Well, some of it had been redacted, and we've actually seen them redacting it in real time. They are redacting it now and apparently they don't know yet, which is another one of those, end up in those ethical dilemmas. We want to go with breaking news, but we don't want to we don't want the DOJ to realize. Fortunately, the entire data set's been copied down as it had been discovered. But what we have is an 8th data set from the DOJ that they had not yet redacted and not yet decided fully which files to keep and which ones to remove. And it was already on the website. It was already uploaded by the DOJ. It had just not yet been indexed, and they figured, well, if it's not indexed, nobody can find it unless somebody can guess the name of the data set, which, as it turns out, the 8th data set usually comes after the 7th. Yeah. So,
crushing it.
What we have seen now is a flurry of new files we've never seen before, with the fewest amount of redactions, almost no redactions, and ones that you have to believe nobody would have had Trump would never have permitted. Multiple allegations of rape against Trump by the youngest is a 13-year-old who also suggests that Trump either knew or was involved in A, getting her pregnant, and then B, doing something to the child post-birth. Not an abortion, after it had been born. Now, given the nature of what we've seen in 1 through 7, I have to believe that file would have been removed. Here on In Time, we have downloaded that file and a bunch of others directly from the DOJ website. We're not downloading them off of Twitter. We're not downloading them. We are downloading them from the DOJ. They are not indexed, meaning the DOJ has not made them ready for public consumption. The DOJ didn't intend for us to see these, but they are there, put there by the DOJ. They are the official FBI records. The stamps are still on them, the whole 9 yards. No, we are not using a VPN. That would have been smart. Having said that, at this point, the link to that data set has been published, and multiple people have gone through, and we haven't scraped it. We've just, like, when somebody sends us a file and says, "Oh my God," I mean, the first file that I got sent, I said, this can't be real. So I went to the DOJ website, found it. I was like, "Yep, it's real." So there are no doubt there are people who have completely scraped it, gotten every file down, and what you do is you send a crawler to crawl through the hyperlinks and just find all of them and then download it. I doubt it. I doubted all of them until about the. What were you gonna say, Chris?
I was just going to say, yeah, definitely. And if there are downloaded versions of it. 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐿𝐴, I believe, has a link to the version that he has of all the documents. And I'm still looking online now. I'm looking for mainstream media trying to pick up on this, and I'm not seeing anything about the leaked documents aside from other, independent reporters like Keith Edwards and Harry Sisson and 𝐍𝐢𝐜𝐿𝐴 and stuff like that. So it still doesn't seem to have made, at least on my feed, its way into mainstream media.
Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing too. And that's one of the reasons I like doing this show, is because we do so many times beat mainstream media on huge stories. And we've done it a lot. And those of you who are new here, just ask around of anybody who's seen us report. The biggie one that got me, like, I was being gaslit by reality, and I finally figured out why, which is because of who owns the New York Times. But we were covering a 1 million man protest in Tel Aviv against Netanyahu. And they burned down his house. There was 1 million people. They asked for the military to overthrow the government, which the military is constitutionally required to do under certain circumstances. The military, Netanyahu asked the military to defend him, and they just said, "Well, we're not listening to either of you. You guys sort it out," which was weird. And as Andrew and I were covering it, we got the show. It's like things are on fire, things are exploding. The military is like, everyone's like, "Is there going to be in Israel tomorrow?" And the next day, we couldn't find the story anywhere. We couldn't find the story anywhere. 2 days before we saw the story, that referenced it as like, and those of you will remember that there was these mass protests 2 days ago. I was like, yeah, man, we remember. We were sitting there wondering if it was. It's always a little strange to be in this situation where we're this far ahead of mainstream media. But it's always very gratifying when they catch up, because you're like, yeah, I knew before Reuters. And which, by the way, I get to sit up here and take the credit for it. It's the research team. I didn't find this. I did not find this. This was found by the in-time research guys, and it's the people who post on our Discord who find these things.
That's insane. And where does that research occur?
Yeah, exactly. I fact check it, but I don't find it. Most of it, usually. The probably 10% of the breaking has been something I've found. Usually it's other people. Anyways, that's why we're talking. Basically, so we've got one file that is testimony that was given to the FBI of a driver who said that he overheard a conversation between Trump and Epstein discussing the raping of children and Trump's fondness for it. The driver said he was so outraged he almost pulled over and beat the living daylights out of Donald Trump. I can't fathom the Justice Department would have let that get through if they had their say. Then also of driving a girl home after having been raped by Trump in a hotel room. This is what the FBI report says. That we shared and aired on our last show just an hour ago. What?
Said, but wait, there's more, right?
Oh yeah, there's more. A 13-year-old who said that she got pregnant by one of these sex parties. Trump may or may not have been the one. He was there. He is listed as a witness to the party. Whether or not he participated, it doesn't say. But after the baby was born, her uncle killed the baby and deposited the baby in Lake Michigan. These are and I will be honest with you, this is what I was expecting to see with the first tranche. In as much I wasn't expecting it because I knew they would redact it, but this is what an actual investigation looks like. It's not pretty. It's pretty bleak. It's also just sort of very direct. It's like there's no polite or easy way to say this. Thank you. Titan has corrected me. She was 13 and pregnant when she was trafficked. No mention of thank you. No mention of her becoming pregnant due to that's. I think he's correct on that. Thank you for the correction. So anyway, so that's what we're talking about is apparently the DOJ as a staging area to prepare to release the files actually staged them online, but in an area that was not indexed. Somebody was able to find the index for that staging area and get all of the files before they were done staging them, preparing for their release, meaning it's unredacted files that probably in many cases they would have removed and not let us see, all seen. It includes what appears to be a suicide note by Epstein that none of us have heard of by now that also implicates Trump. The suicide note was written to another pedophile in jail and was returned because he got the address wrong, but he was already dead by the time it was returned, so it went to the FBI. So so let me ask you about that. I mean, what would you think? And I know you know more about psychology than I do, but how would you rate the credibility of a letter like this? In the letter, he says, by the time you get this, I'll be gone. He was gone by the time and he had committed suicide by the time but the letter implicates Trump. So I can see people saying, oh, well, this was clearly set up. Having said that, nobody saw this but the FBI, and the only person who would have seen this is a convicted pedophile. So how compelling do you find this?
Yeah, we're going to have to wait a while probably to have the appropriate context to have this fit in as a jigsaw puzzle piece of any way, shape, or form. I think it's interesting that it was in the files in the 8th batch of files, right? And again, for those of you that don't understand the difference between what we're talking about, if you turn on mainstream media news about the new Epstein drop, they're going to talk about Trump being mentioned on the flight of Epstein's plane a couple times between 93 and 96. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about Epstein potentially having written a letter to another pedophile in prison, having gotten the address wrong and it being sent back, and in that letter implicating Trump, right? I don't know what the validity of the handwriting analysis is on that at all. There's an email of 10 co-conspirators, mentioning 10 co-conspirators for an unlawful act having to do with sex and rape, all of that horrible stuff. There is the story of the limousine driver, right? There is the story of the girl who was trafficked and had, post-birth murder of her child. Those aren't the things. That's not the same as, Trump was mentioned 6 times in the 1990s on the blog. That's not what we're talking about. All of these, and there's more. And there's more. And again, when more is revealed, the things that we're talking about now might look different. They might mean something different. But
and that's an excellent
way to make sense out of.
And I'm very glad you said that, because one of the things I try to do, and this is why I was very glad when Titan corrected me, I try to say, okay, this is what was reported in the FBI. This is what the FBI agent reported being told, reported seeing, reported, so that we get clear that we're making very specific claims. We are making claims that the documents on our Discord are real. I am going to say that they're real. That's In Time is putting its reputation on these are real documents. These are from the FBI. These are from the DOJ. We have a whole bunch on the Discord. We've shown a whole bunch already. The reason I'm making that claim is because I've been to the Department of Justice website, and I know how to tell when I'm being redirected. I know how to. I downloaded them myself from the Department of Justice, so these are real. We are making the claim that they were not intended to be published yet. And we are making the claim that mainstream media is either not yet aware or is not yet prepared to make a statement about these. But they are phenomenally damning. They are not. You can't convict someone alone, I think. Maybe you can tell me if you think I'm phrasing this correctly, on what somebody says or what's in an FBI memo. But if you take a look at all of these, they are very damning. It is very hard to see how Trump is going to find a way to deal with this. And I'm assuming these are 11,000 documents. So I'm assuming we have only scratched the surface.
Here's the wrinkle.
Yes.
I can't say it with a straight face. His administration is so savvy that they planted this, knowing that somebody would be looking for it. And this is just a honey. What do they call them? A
honey trap or something like that. Honey pot trap.
Honey pot or whatever. This is just, they have filled this with false documents to keep all the lefties busy, to keep Antifa out of their hair. That's going to be the counter argument.
This
isn't an accident. They did this on purpose to keep you running on a wild goose chase. Playing 4D chess, brother.
Yeah. Well, the good news. In some ways, there's no good news, because MAGA really, if you take a look at the bite model, the amount that MAGA actually falls into it, and I know it's a trope, MAGA is a cult, but the reality is I don't think there's any way to convince them of the hardcore MAGAs of anything, no matter how much. But the good news is that, first of all, I think we've already hit the tipping point where people are starting to become more concerned for their own welfare, because a lot of these also can be prosecuted in a state where Trump can't pardon somebody. Mm-hmm. So if you're Pam Bondi and you're breaking multiple laws in concealing this, you can also face civil liability from any of the victims. There has to be a point at which you say abandon ship, and the House Oversight Committee is pushing so hard on getting these files released that, and there are Republicans on it. I have to believe they're going to have the ability to talk to other Republicans and say, this is the nail in the coffin, this is the smoking gun, the fact that they were preparing the files in this manner and got caught. This isn't an easy thing to get around.
You're right, and you mentioned that they're a cult. I'm paraphrasing you, so I'll take the responsibility for what I'm saying. You mentioned that they're kind of like a cult, and they engage in cultish behavior with like a cult-ish leader, and I think something that might, I'm speculating now, snap cult members out of their sleepwalking is grocery shopping, right? Racists had a hard time arguing Aryan superiority when they were on a soup line with Polish people and Italian people and Irish people. I'm not saying we're going to be on soup lines, but I know groceries have gotten super expensive, and the everyday person that is the populist population that he's drawing from that might have held out hope until now, I can see how reaching into their wallets and hitting them where it hurts, like groceries, and I'm just using that as a proxy for other things, obviously. But what I'm saying is it might be the case where they're now sensitized in a way where it's like, I don't have the luxury of believing QAnon shit anymore. I've just taken on a third job to keep up with yada yada, whatever.
Yep.
So that's me speculating. But you had mentioned the cult thing, and for some reason that analogy just kind of like, maybe they're ready to snap. It's the holiday season, things are more expensive. Their holiday dinner's going to be more expensive. Their purses are going to be stretched. Their belts are going to be tightened. Is this the environment that's necessary for them to just be like, fuck this guy? I don't know. I'm asking. Make comment.
I like that. I like that argument, and I think coupled with, I mean, the other thing, and I always say this, and I feel weird saying this because it's like it's a weird thing to say. I was just like, why does MAGA care about the Epstein files? And to most people who are sitting there going like, why wouldn't people care? Well, MAGA doesn't seem to care about, I mean, they're perfectly okay with the grab them by the pussy and the this and the, they've been perfectly okay with horrible, horrible things, but that's where they draw. I'm glad. I'm not sitting there saying, you know, golly gee, I wish they'd be consistent. No, if there's a line, I'm delighted. I'm shocked that there's a line, but this does appear to be it, and it seems to have held. So, I mean, I think depending on how this is framed and how this is presented, and as long as it's understood that these are the DOJ documents, this is not. I mean, this is not. The DOJ published these. It's sort of like having a building, putting the building up, and then just not putting the address on it, and then being surprised when somebody figures out where the building is. Yeah. They put the building.
People found where it was. That's all it is. You did a shitty job. You put it under your mattress. Yeah.
You don't put it. You don't put it into the internet, even without an index. You don't put it on the internet until you're ready for people to see it. And that's what they appear to have done here. So there's a good question here. I want to get to it. $5. Ninjester, great plan. Let's convict them of creating and releasing false documents. Pretty sure even an unplanned drop counts as falsifying official documents. Ninjester, $5. It absolutely does. I'd like to point out what I
like the reality check on my 4D chess.
Well, I think I don't think you meant it as a they're actually doing it, because you're just as aware. But you were saying that that's what they're going to say.
Yes,
they're going to say.
Confidence they would say it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's preposterous for exactly the reasons that Ninjester here says. It's because it would be highly illegal. It would be tampering with. It would be all these things, and what they'll counter that with is, well, sometimes, you got to bend the law to catch, you liberals are just so out to get the Trump derangement syndrome. We proved it. We proved it. We made all these fake articles because there's no way Trump could actually be guilty or that anything coming up. What I love is the argument would be based on suggesting that there's no way the Justice Department would actually release real data. Like, that's essentially the argument.
You can't trust. Like, what are you talking about? They just keep moving the goalposts. Like, okay, well, who do you trust? Okay, like like this expertise crisis. Like, where does it end? Do we just trust our gut feeling? Yeah, that's truthy. No, we need fucking establishments and structures and stuff. Anyway, do a quick rundown, just in case people just tune in.
Let me do a rundown in a second. I'm going to ask you a question before I forget, based on what Titan here has said, because I think he may be onto something, which is he thinks that this was actually deliberate, that maybe members of the FBI have been deliberately not properly redacting things and properly using bad standards and practices in the hopes that somebody would find it, or that by failing to do a good job, it might. I think that's what he's sort of undermining it from the inside by
leaving gingerbread crumbs kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not really. That was the wrong analogy. But yeah, like purposely leaving stuff where people will find it, but having plausible deniability of like, what? It was what? We didn't publish it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I hope that's the case, right? Like it's so tough. I hate to be conspiratorially minded, but you don't have to be conspiratorially minded to think bizarre shit that is actually tethered to reality in today's political climate.
Well, there's a name for it. It's institutional resistance. And it happens quite regularly. The first time I heard of the frame, the term was in regards to JFK retaliating against the CIA for the Bay of Pigs invasion. So the CIA lied to him, started the invasion, figuring that once it was started, if they told him after they started it, then he'd have to bring in air support because the invasion's already started. He said no, the invaders got wiped out. He's pissed at the CIA, they're pissed at him, and he creates a new structure, framework by which the CIA must go through him or one other person, I forget, before doing any clandestine operations. And while strictly speaking, they followed the letter of that, they actually they just renamed what's a clandestine operation. It kind of kept doing the same thing. So there was institutional resistance that kept that mandate from actually being enforced. So it's whether or not there's whether at least some of, because we've also had other leaks, other redactions that the photo of Trump that got released, and then all of a sudden they pulled it, and then they got caught pulling it, so they put it back. Like, oh, sorry, we were no shenanigans here. I know,
especially considering how savvy everybody is, like, which reveals to me how stupid they must think other people are. Like, oh, no one's gonna, or like how stupid they are that they don't realize there is a world of humans that have their own version of what I'll call juggling, right? Juggling is a unique little craft that a few people have because they practiced it a lot. We all have our own juggling. Mine is music, right? Yours is building computers and code and philosophy and logic. Everybody has that. And there are millions of us as humans that know how to work the internet like I work my bass.
Yes.
So to think to think that you could put something on the internet without anyone knowing about it crushes me, because it's like the most obvious lack of due diligence, or the most obvious overabundance of hubris. It's just Dunning-Kruger all over. It's like they know a little bit, they know enough to think that they know everything, and not enough to know they don't know anything. And again, that's our government. I expect to see that in a Doonesbury fucking comic strip, not the actual government it's lampooning.
I will say this, unfortunately, it wasn't all that much better under Biden. I remember going to the CIA webpage for some reason. There was something, and I recognized the way it was framing, and I said, "Wait a minute, this is WordPress, and WordPress is great software, helps you build websites really quickly, and it's pretty powerful." But in general, you don't use it for a site that needs significant security. And one of the reasons is because it's essentially open source. And what happens is, if you don't stay on it, even if you do stay on it, people find the bugs and the ways to hack it really, really quickly. If you decide you're going to use WordPress, the first thing you do is you remove the version number from all the pages. And that's an easy, you just tell WordPress when building a page, don't put in the version number. By default, it puts it in, you tell it, don't. The reason is because if a specific vulnerability is found for a specific version number, if they know what version number you've got, they can just go look up and figure out what vulnerabilities that version number has. So you don't help them by telling them. And I think it was Porpoise. Porpoise was just like, I just found the version number. I was like, on the CIA's website. She's like, yeah. And so I said, okay. So, and you can do this on your browser because and it's not, you're not hacking anything. The machine on the other end doesn't know if you're viewing the code or viewing the website because it comes to you as code. So the website's already on my screen. And I said, I'd like to see the code for this. And I look at the code, beautifully formatted WordPress code. There's no obfuscation. There's no. I was like, oh yeah, that's the version. I was like, wow. I was like, oh my, this is the CIA's website under the Biden administration. They're using WordPress.
That is embarrassing. That's so embarrassing. All right, tie that into a rundown because it's a perfect segue.
Yes, and then I'm going to need to go.
All right,
so for those of you just joining us, In Time is going to be on probably quite a bit today. We have a regularly scheduled show at 9 p.m. It's going to be Zandring and myself. Mainstream media has been talking about the latest Epstein release. We are not talking about that. We're talking about something else, which mainstream media has not yet picked up on. They will. Someone has figured out, so normally when you build a website, you have an index of that website, and you have other sub-indexes and so on and so forth that help you navigate the site. On the Epstein files, there's an index of every major data set. There have been 7 data sets. Somebody on a hunch decided to take the URL, the address for the 7th set, and replace the 7 with an 8. Punch it up, see what they got, and they got the index for an 8th unpublished data set. From what we can tell so far by looking at this data set, what the government has been doing is, in order to facilitate the fastest possible release of this, is uploading all the files to the internet, but doing so in a unindexed sandbox, building it there, redacting it there, pulling and just doing everything on the stuff while it's there. This is genuinely the fastest way to do it, having built many, many websites. It's the fastest way to do it. It's also the most unsecure way to do it. It is phenomenally stupid. And because it was a batch, similar to all the other batches, once you knew where the batch itself was indexed. It wasn't in the main index, so you couldn't find it. But once you found it, you could have an index to what we understand to be 11,000 files that had not yet been processed by the DOJ. Or I should say was in the process of being processed by the DOJ. We have actually found files, and then they've been redacted as we find them. So the DOJ appears to be working on dataset 8 right now. Somebody found the dataset. It was already online, simply unindexed. They downloaded, I assume they've looked for the 9th or 10th. It appears when they decide to work on a new data set, they just upload everything that's going to be in that, and then they start to pull down, pull back whatever they want to. One of the reasons that makes it easy is, especially if you have a team working on this, if you've uploaded it to the internet, and nobody knows the address except your team, then the entire team can work on it, and you don't have to set up your own workspace because they're doing it on the internet. But it's unsecure, so you just set up your own workspace for your team. They skipped that step. So the workspace has been the internet, and it's been discovered. So a number of extraordinarily serious FBI complaints have been found. We at In Time have downloaded them directly from the DOJ website. It's unindexed, which means unless you know it's there, you couldn't find it, but it's the DOJ website. We're pulling it directly off of their servers on the internet that they have published. They just didn't put the address in the phone book is the best way to so you have to know it's there. A number of people have downloaded all 11,000 and are going through 11,000 now, but the 4 or 5 that we've found include a complaint to the FBI by a driver, a professional driver who said that he overheard, he was driving Donald Trump, and he overheard a call between Trump and Epstein in which Trump talked about raping girls under the age of 18. The driver says to the FBI agent, at least this is an official FBI report. It is on our server. Said to the FBI agent, he got so upset about this that he almost pulled over and just beat the living daylights out of Trump. Same driver also apparently reported that he had picked up a rape victim of Trump's from a hotel and suggested to her repeatedly that she report it, and she refused for fear that he was going to have her killed. And again, this is a official FBI report, so I am citing what the FBI report claims. That's all and it's from the Department of Justice. I downloaded it from them myself. Another one about a girl who claims to have been at a sex party at which Donald Trump was at a minimum a witness. Another one that says that there were 10 co-conspirators to be indicted or to be at least considered for indictment, along with Epstein, but all vanished. One of them was a businessman from Ohio. What else? I know I must be missing one of those. There's a number, and they are.
There's the card between Epstein and the other pedo in jail.
Epstein sent a goodbye card to a fellow pedophile. Apparently, he actually saw some camaraderie between him and this guy and said that you, Trump, and I all share this camaraderie. I'm going to take the easy way out. Best of luck to you. Thank you. By the time you get this card, I'll be dead. And he committed suicide after that. The card was sent back. It's been discovered because it was sent back. Bad address, and the card is in the hands of the FBI. We have that card. They have since redacted all the information that could actually prove how and where it was sent, the barcode down at the bottom from the post office, and all of that stuff. They've redacted that since we downloaded it. There is a copy of it here, and we've got other copies of what is data set 8, as yet unpublished, and not fully redacted by the DOJ. We're going to keep following it. We anticipate as more people, Les Wexner, that's a really good, yeah, that's good. So we're going to keep on it today. This is obviously going to be a continuing story. I don't know what happens when mainstream media feels satisfied enough that they're going to go forward with it. We are often well ahead of mainstream media by 4 to 6 hours, so I'm expecting by the 6 p.m. evening news, this is going to be really big.
David Pakman, because I follow him, he puts out his episode at 3 o'clock for members. So I wonder if he'll have anything on it. I don't even know if you would consider David Pakman mainstream media anymore. I think he's more citizen journalist. But anyway, everybody keep watching In Time for the updates.
Yes,
I will likely not be in them, but Zandring will be, and he's my favorite conservative. So
that's good. Well, and hopefully we'll get Commander. Like I said, I think it's a developing, and it's hard to imagine what Trump's going to do with this, because these are damning files, and it's hard to imagine anybody taking anything Pam Bondi or what's her name, the press secretary, says regarding. If there's a way to get around this, other than, what she can say is, okay, the cab driver made it up, or bad memory, and all of that could be true. But there are so many, and the problem is, she has said publicly that Trump wasn't in the files. This is an FBI report of someone claiming to have been raped by him. Trump is in the files. He's in the files significantly, and it could all be false, but anyone who says he's not in the files, who's seen them, is lying.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. We will stay on it. Come join us on the Discord. Do hit like and subscribe. It really does help. And pass this on to anyone else who wants to know about it before it becomes mainstream news, because it will. And again, we've been, Maute will tell you, we've covered a lot of stories, sometimes days before they become public. This one, I think, isn't going to take that long.
Oh, hell no. Well, I'm going to be in the side chat for the rest of the hangs for the day.
Perfect.
So I'll see you there.
All right. Thank you all. And we look forward to seeing you at a minimum 9 p.m. Eastern for In Time. But my suspicion is we'll be live before that. Have a good one. And thank you, Chris, for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Without a doubt. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good day all.